Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 6 of the Metabob Podcast. My name is Donji, and I'm a UX designer here at Metabob, as well as the podcast host. Today, I'm excited to introduce our guest, Brad Hastedt. Brad is an AI NLP entrepreneur with an illustrious background in tech ops. He recently co-founded a new AI and NLP-based intelligent research platform, VERESAI, that reads and understands human language on a massive scale, as well as evolving knowledge domain models. Brad's career has spanned over 20 years now, from marketing and overseas sales to becoming co-founder. He is truly an entrepreneur through and through. Brad, thank you for coming on our show. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So first of all, let's start with your product. What exactly are you doing with human speech?
Okay. Yeah. VERESAI is a small startup that was founded, the tail end of, I get confused because of COVID, the tail end of 2019. It's an NLP platform that is, reads and understands human language at scale. And the goal of the company is to kind of provide an intelligent assistant for heavy use researchers that will kind of help them or form a knowledge base inside their own organizations and be able to use that as a quick reference during their research. So, speaking of, say, the medical field specifically, if you're a cancer doctor, let's say leukemia, there's something like 70 to 75,000 documents published every year just on leukemia. So that could be, white papers, studies, things like that. There's no possible way that individual doctor can read all and understand and process all of those documents in a given year. If you're a doctor like here in Dallas and someone in Japan publishes a document, then, how do you know what was published and what it was about, and process that, and can it help your own practice, things like that. So imagine if you're that doctor, you get into the office in the morning, or you fire up your mobile in the morning, and you have all that information distilled on what new studies happened either overnight or once a week or whatever, things like that in your particular field. That was the goal of the product.
Okay, so basically it will reiterate whatever was read in a much simpler way to digest.
Correct. And kind of let you know any new developments, new products, new studies. In the case of in the doctor example, things like that. It really will act as an intelligent assistant.
Nice. And how far along are you with this product so far?
It's a small company. It is literally in startup mode. So we've done a couple of successful proofs of concept in a couple of different industries actually, and that's it. We need to move to MVP stage, and currently, or at least over the course of the last year, been seeking funding to do that.
Nice. And can you explain to us, how did you come up with this? I mean, how did you form your team? Who did you work with? And are these people you met with in different companies that you worked at in the past?
Yeah, well, and anybody that looks at my profile can see, but I spent the last 15 years or so actually in the contact center business, call center business. I had a couple of different call center companies based overseas. And during the tail end of that experience is where I initially got into AI, NLP technologies, really from a selfish point of view. Was my competition doing it? How could this help me maybe do the work of 1,500 agents with 1,000? Will I be able to handle level 1 customer support issues with, let's say, bots, for example, or intelligent assistants, and be able to redeploy that human capital to higher value tasks, higher revenue generating tasks, things like that. That's where I first started to, get the bug for AI.
Oh, interesting. So were you building an AI bot for that?
We never ended up doing it, but
Ah,
that's where I initially started to get interested in these sorts of technologies. And so I ended up selling that business back in 2018, and was lucky enough to be able to consult with various AI and NLP companies here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and kind of act as like a subject matter expert for companies that were building different products to get into the BPO or the outsourcing, the contact center industry. I was able to kind of act as that subject matter expert and work with different teams, technical teams, like computational linguists, different programmers, AI engineers, you name it. You work with them every day at Metabob. So I was able to really gain some great experience doing that. And through that, met a co-founder who was an old computational linguist himself, computer programmer. He had worked previously for the Department of Defense, built different programs for them, as well as IBM and some other companies throughout his career. So he was the technical end. I was the non-technical guy on the sales and ops side, and we formed VERESAI.
nice. And when you formed VERSEAI, like what was your pitch to him to join? It's a lot of times for people looking to create AI startups. It's
really it was kind of reverse. When we met, he had this platform he had been working on the side for really the bulk of his career, and finally he's a little older than me, so finally had retired and was working on this full time, and he was looking for someone who could really build out the operational end, the sales end, work on, as we all do in the startup world, work on funding, so seeking out different venture capitalists or private equity firms or angel investors, or you name it. We're all looking for funding at some point. So it was really from that end where he needed some help, and it was a nice mesh to be able to do that together.
Oh, okay. And were you sold immediately, or did it take some thinking, or what was that process like?
Well, it's a fascinating product, and platform. So yeah, I was sold on the tech immediately. Obviously, as we know with startups, it's very, very difficult to grow and to build a product and then to bring on customers and things of that nature. And COVID didn't make it any easier. So in terms of from the technical end and from the product end, absolutely, sold right away. It's very, very difficult to start a business and grow it, but I had some experience doing that. So that's what appealed to him.
Nice. And how does your technology work on a more technical level?
Well, it's Python based, and so that's what it's built on. We host it in AWS, and then with regard to the application, it's it can either be web based or mobile, and the user can access it on really wherever they are, whether on the go or on their computer. And it would work similar to typing it into a search engine, except it will literally ingest documents, read them for you at faster than you can at lightning speed, and then start driving results based on what you're looking for. And you can really work it as your mind's eye reads and goes, and you say, well, I'm not interested in that, I'm more interested in that. And you can kind of trace your steps to get to the answer that you need.
Do you use the GPT-3 model from OpenAI?
We don't use it, but
interesting.
But yeah, I know what you're talking about, and there are plans to build those into it in the future.
Okay, cool. And then so right now, can you describe the interface? So how does it work? Do I have a question like I want to learn more about this, and then it will find articles and kind of put it together?
Yeah, exactly. It can be either that, and it'll go out across the internet and different databases, and One day it may be other things that we're subscribed to or that our customers are subscribed to. It'll find those answers for you depending on what you're looking for in real time. Or if you have documents that you want the tool to ingest and read and then drive different insights based off of those documents or find similar documents elsewhere across the globe, it'll do that too.
Okay, so let's just do like a little role play. Let's say I'm the person asking and you're the robot. I'm going to say like, I want to learn more about hip replacement surgery. So then what would be like a response it would give?
Well, it would start, it would go search medical journals or the American Medical Association. It would say hip replacement, and it would go learn about hips. It would learn about replacement. It would put the two words together and realize that that's a medical procedure. Well, who does that medical procedure? Doctors, and it would reason and infer based off of just those words, what you're talking about and what you're looking for, and start driving results based off of that. And then depending on what you click on as a user, it will keep on doing that process until it reaches whatever answer you're looking for.
So we could kind of think of this as like a search engine of sorts, but kind of maybe a little smarter.
That's how I would describe it. I would call it, I don't want to use the word Google, but I mean, it's a search engine on steroids. Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
it actually, like, instead of Google just giving you some links, it will give you the results digested.
Yeah, here's the difference. I mean, if you type something into Google right now, hip replacement, to use that example, yeah, it's going to bring up a bunch of results, right? But then you got to go read it. You got to go read all of it. And then when you click on let's say you click on the second article down and you start reading it, you go, yeah, that's not really what I was looking for. And then you got to X out of that and go read the next one down the list. And that may or may not be what you're looking for. And, it's a lot of manual work, right? It's a lot of reading by you and research by you to go do. This tool does that process for you.
And does it give you the sources of where it's drawing from? Okay, interesting. So
yeah, absolutely. So if you want to, it'll give you a little abstract of what you're looking at. You can say, okay, great. That's what I'm looking for. But if you want to, and you want the larger piece or the larger document or study or what have you that it came from, then yeah, it will provide that link for you.
Yeah, and a lot of listeners being skeptical about, can this bot really provide great feedback? I don't know if you've seen this, but it's been in the news that there were articles made by the OpenAI bot GPT-3 that made it to the top of the news aggregator site, Hacker News. So it's basically kind of like Reddit, but for programming news. And yeah, no one knew that these articles at the top of Hacker News were just written by bots.
Right, were made up. Right. I remember reading something on that. Yep.
Yeah, so I thought that was fascinating. How these bots have gotten good enough where you just don't know that it's not a human reading it. So.
Yeah, I think the difference there is we're not creating anything or creating an article or a piece. We're just, ingesting, finding others based off the words and inferences, and then, showing the user, hey, here are the results. Is this what you're looking for? Yes, no. You'll click on something else, and it'll take you down the path to the answer that you're trying to drive.
I see. So so it's not really.
We have no interest. Yeah, we have no interest in creating articles or creating documents or anything like that. It's mainly for research, in heavy use environments.
And then it provides summaries. You said, isn't that kind of writing an article?
It'll provide an abstract. Based on what you're looking for, it'll give you kind of an idea. And then if it's something that you want to dive deeper into, then you click on it and it'll bring up the source files and things of that nature.
Awesome. So what are some of the challenges of getting into this product and building it? Do you have a lot of labelers that you need to kind of bring on board?
Yeah, I mean, the challenges honestly have been before that. It's really building a tech team. It's a 2-person startup, so there's not a lot of money, as you can imagine. So it's just it's really building a tech team to help our CTO move faster. Is really that's been the entire challenge so far throughout the couple proofs of concept that we've had, or proofs of concept that we had, is really just moving faster. Once we were to get to an MVP phase, then yes, I could see labeling. I could see a bunch of other issues popping up after that in terms of what we would need. But yeah, it's really just been from a moving faster point of view. There's definitely interest. And when you're talking to folks about what you possibly can do, there's interest from that end for sure.
And then what areas were you thinking about tackling? Like, who are your target markets for this product?
Well, definitely like cancer research. My co-founder had a real passion for leukemia research. He lost a couple family members to leukemia. Oh, wow. So that was the genesis of the idea. But we had also branched out into the media industry as well, and had done a concept there. So it really can be used in a variety of industries. But when you're a startup, it's hard to be all things to all people. So you got to you got to pick a path, go down, hopefully get some investment, build out a team, build out a product. And then later on with revenue coming in and hopefully a profitable company, then you can say, okay, well, we want to focus over here. Let's go down this route. So, really the concepts that we've done, those just came about from straight up cold calling and saying, hey, you interested in doing a concept? And that's how it came about. Mm-hmm. So,
wow, that's awesome. So what else, is there anything else about your company that like a lot of people wouldn't know that you guys are doing that's kind of cool?
Oh, that's a good question. I think the thing that we've encountered most, or that the startup encountered most, was really no matter who you talk to, what project you're doing, is the data preparation part. You mentioned data labeling earlier, but the entire data preparation part, getting data ready to then feed into your models, that's really it's a challenge for everybody. Mm-hmm. We worked with a large media firm who you'd probably have heard of. We worked with a large media firm on a test project that they provided a couple different databases, and we were trying to build basically a similarity score between the two databases. And so really the project itself was pretty easy and quick. What took the most time was the preparation of the data to use in the model. And that's one thing that we've consistently found with companies big or small, or prospects big and small, is really the data annotation and preparation part before putting into the model has been a challenge for companies. As you've probably heard it a million times at Metabob. I mean, with these models, it's garbage in, garbage out. If it's unstructured data, or it's not labeled properly, or languages aren't correct, then it really, models struggle to provide the insights that business decision makers are looking for. That whether it be the C-suite or the entrepreneur who owns the company, or whatever goal they have for that AI project, if the data, the training data that's being used on the model is not organized, not labeled correctly, not translated correctly, then the models really struggle to work. And we've seen that both with VERESAI, and then with a company that I'm also working with now, which is TransPerfect. It really, we see that everywhere. The data preparation part is really the most important part of training AI and machine learning models.
Mm-hmm. And then tell us about your work at TransPerfect.
Yeah, well, no, thanks. So TransPerfect, if you haven't heard of it, is the largest translations company in the world. Um, it's about a 6,000 person company. Do about $1 billion this year. Still owned by the original founder who founded the company in his NYU dorm room.
Wow.
And now has built a $1 billion business. So TransPerfect has been around, it's almost 30 years now, and first got in to the AI side with a machine learning or machine translation about 10 years ago. And that has grown into a division called Dataforce, which is what I help out with. Our practice at Dataforce really leverages what TransPerfect's built over the last 30 years, which is a network. It's about 2 million strong now of linguists, translators, subject matter experts, industry experts who help translate, in our case, help build better human annotated training data for AI and machine learning models. So really what we offer is we can scale up any project as fast as a company may need it, whether it be in a week, a month, or a year. We can annotate all of their and prepare and structure all of their training data for AI models.
Oh, wow. And for any type of AI models?
Absolutely. Yeah. And really, I think speaking of NLP, for example, an important thing with that type of model is language, right? I mean, that's what it is. And translations are so important. I mean, and that's one thing that I'm continuing to learn as I go forward in my AI career. Now that I'm here at TransPerfect is, for example, Mexico Spanish is different than Spain Spanish. UK English is different than US English. Cultural localization is extremely important when preparing training data for AI models, for NLP models. And it's something I think that we in the AI industry don't always think about, is how important the language aspect is. And proper translation when training these models is imperative. I mean, if you're training a model and you need Spain Spanish and you translate it accidentally into Mexico Spanish, that can make a big difference with the output of any type of machine learning model. So that's one thing from a language aspect that I've really learned over the course of the last few years, but particularly the last few months here at TransPerfect.
Yeah, that's actually very interesting problems. For Metabob, we analyze Python, and that's a lot different from any other programming language. So I could imagine you guys run into very similar things.
And it's funny because I've talked to your very own Ben Reeves on the phone about that issue. And we have folks in the network at Dataforce with TransPerfect that handle Python as well, or C++, and a variety of the other programming languages in case there are folks out there watching this that need help with that type of data prep. We do that too. So it's really a fascinating industry, AI in general. And then, in particular, the on the front end of the industry, which is the data prep and the annotation and data collection. Sometimes, I'm working on not to go on, but I'm working on a project right now where an AI company is training a model. They don't have enough data to train the model. So they need a group that can go out and build these data sets for them, then annotate and label them and return them back so that they can start training their models. There are a lot of companies out there that they have a great idea. They're ready to train a model. They're ready to receive some data. They just don't have enough of it. Well, we have the ability to go out and collect a lot of that data ahead of time, prepare it, label it, and return it back to a client. So that's there's a lot of interesting projects going on out there. There's a lot of interesting problems that we have the ability to solve. So it's really fun.
Nice. And what are some of the projects that you worked on that really piqued your interest so far at TransPerfect?
Yeah, the one that's super interesting is an application for I have to make sure I'm not divulging any secrets, but one of them is an image collection project for certain conditions that eventually the goal one day is to be able to hold your phone up to the image, say it's on your skin, and you're able to, take a picture. It'll tell you exactly what it is, where to go, if you need to see a doctor, those types of things.
So you're like like basically a doctor's eye in a phone.
Yeah, exactly. Another really interesting project is automatic speech recognition that we're actually collecting different languages for. I mean, in TransPerfect, our network, we can translate over 250 languages now, including American Sign Language. So there's really not a language that we can't access speakers to help translate. So we're working on a lot of automatic speech recognition applications where there's just not a lot of available speech for those companies to go out and get. So they hire us to help them put together those recordings to get back to them to train their models.
What about subtitles?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. TransPerfect has been doing subtitling for many, many years. Yeah. We handle, I think Zoom, and I'd have to look at this, but I think Zoom's a customer. We provide subtitling for Zoom. So that's a core business that TransPerfect's been providing for many years.
Wow, that's fascinating. So they're kind of everywhere in this space.
Yeah, I think it's easier to name a company that we don't work with in the Fortune 500 than companies we do. I mean, we work with pretty much most large businesses.
Nice. And what is something that you've learned at TransPerfect that you think is helping you in your next venture right now with VERESAI?
Well, that's interesting. It's only been a few months, but I think I'm really learning how important the language and proper translation aspect is in labeling training data for models. I knew it was important. I just never thought too much of it until I started working here in the data force division. Really, how important the language aspect is with data prep. It's imperative. If you want to drive the best insights, I mean, because that's really what we're doing here, right? With AI projects. I mean, we all want to see the coolest things that AI can offer, but as business leaders, they really want to drive or solve business problems, right? Either, hey, how do we drive more revenue? How do we save money? How do we best deploy our human capital? How do we eliminate redundancy in tasks and processes? That's what decision makers are interested in, right? So in order to drive those best insights, proper high quality human annotated training data is the only way to do it. And it's very important.
Interesting. And for companies looking to deploy AI, what kind of advice would you have for them?
My advice would be start small, particularly if you're just dipping your toe into the AI waters for the first time. I've written a few articles on this, at least from the entrepreneur's perspective over the course of the last couple of years. But it's really, I think sometimes, at least coming at it from the entrepreneur's perspective, they think, well, yeah, I'm hearing about AI, or I'm hearing about machine learning. I'm interested, but I think that's for the enterprise, or it's too expensive for me to do, or I'm just not sure if I can build a team to do it, and I wouldn't think that way, because that's not right. Even as an entrepreneur, there are tools out there that can be had for a decent price. You don't need to build a giant team to start off with. You can go to some of your trusted team members, even if it's just 2 or 3. You start just kind of a little AI council. And start small. Look for maybe it's a redundant task that a lot of your folks are working on that you'd like to eliminate, right? maybe it's, can we save a little bit of money in a certain area or department, and really just start small with, we want to solve this one problem, and how do we do it? And you don't need to go hire a bunch of data scientists yet. Hopefully one day you will. Hopefully you'll have a giant AI team with the chief AI officer, and he'll run a whole science team that will help solve all your company's problems and run all the models and things like that. But in the beginning, it's really just kind of start small with a simple business problem, solve that first, do that, and then move on to the next one.
Nice. And like 5 years from now, what are you ultimately trying to build with VERESAI?
Well, with VERESAI, I would love to secure some investment that helps my CTO co-founder work faster, and build out an MVP quicker, so that we've got more tangible, concrete evidence to show prospects and clients. There's lots of interest, but definitely moving faster is in tech, right? I mean, you've got to, everything moves fast, and you've got to move fast. So, but I would say, 4 to 5 years from now, have a couple different products that work for a couple different verticals, profitably.
And has the fundraising, when you mean get to the MVP, what is the difference between what you've created so far and then what you have with this MVP that you're building out?
Created so far was just concepts to solve individual problems for a couple prospects that were interested. An MVP would be something that we can have on the website as an example, that users could, maybe play with a free version and see if they like it, and then kind of a SaaS model where, you offer up the free version, and then there's maybe some, couple different packages that they can, upscale into, that would be maybe a monthly subscription or something like that.
And then what kind of, just for people listening, what kind of people are you looking for to help your process go faster?
Yeah, I mean, I think, right now, I think my CTO would tell you junior developers, Python programmers is what we need right now. I would say at this time next year, it would be more of your AI engineer, machine learning engineer, more a couple data scientists is where I would say. Right now, it would be probably more junior level staffers to help move faster.
Yeah. Interesting. And is there anything else you wanted to tell us about your company?
I think from the data force and the TransPerfect end, it's really, we can help companies of all shapes and sizes. You do not have to be, a Silicon Valley enterprise level company. We help companies from startup all the way to, as I mentioned, Fortune 500. From a startup perspective, don't give up, and even if you have to work nights and weekends to keep building out your product and have your day job on the side, by all means do that, because you're going to learn every step of the way. And hopefully with your day job and your startup job, they relate, so they can help each other either now or in the future.
Awesome. Well, Brad, it was so great talking to you. Thank you so much for being on our show.
I really appreciate it. Thanks for the time, and it was fun.
Yeah. And then how can people contact you or VERESAI?
Yeah, absolutely. So contact me. I'm available on LinkedIn. It's Brad Hastedt, Hastedt. It's a pretty unique name. So if you just type that in there, chances are I'll pop up. If you need to reach me by email, it's B as in Brad, and then my last name, Hastedt, and that's either at transperfect.com or at veresai.com. And yeah, that's it. It should be pretty easy.
Great. Great having you on the show, and we'll love to have you back on to follow up once you guys reach your MVP stage and got some investment.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. This was fun.
Yeah. Catch you later.
Take care.